So, hey Aries, my name is Chris and this is your beautiful reading for spring 2026, and I said it before in all the other readings and I'm going to say it in your reading as well. This is not the ending of an old circle, this is the beginning of a completely new cycle. So the last 9 years were a big developmental cycle. Most of the time, the last 7 years most likely, were pretty tough for decent human beings. So if you've been on the more empathic side, you probably went through the dark night of the soul for quite a while. If you're a narcissist, you probably had a really good time, got a new car, got a new Mercedes, whatever. But if you are more on the empathic side, this is the reading for you, this is the channel for you. The universe is giving you something back, my friend. 6 of Pentacles. Then we got the so much fast-moving energy, the Knight of Swords and the King of Pentacles. 8 of Wands here, so fast energy. It's happening. 6 of Pentacles. We've seen the 6 of Pentacles in pretty much not all the readings, but most of the readings, I would say, for spring 2026. So that's, the universe giving you something back. 6 of Pentacles. Very fast energy. You just know exactly what you want, so you just go for it, right? And there you are, the King of Pentacles. You're immersing yourself in your own creation. Let's just start here with the Star card. You get what you want. And then there's the Devil, and we had the Devil in the, what was that? The last reading, I think that was the Taurus reading. You should just check out the Taurus reading. Maybe you should check out your Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Could be interesting for spring 2026, very intense time. There is the Star card, there's the Victory March, and in between there's the Devil. And I said it in the Taurus reading, as I said. The Devil is not necessarily, well, the Devil is, of course, a bad card, right? But, you know, if you know how to deal with it, then it's not a problem. And I'm going to talk about this a little more. There's the Empress. I'm not even sure. Should I? Okay, let's just do this. The Empress, Chariot, the Ace of Pentacles, and what else we got? Let's just take the Ace of Wands in the center here. You showing up again as the Page of Swords. So you're prepared for everything, right? You are not threatened. You're super prepared. You're super... I mean, the Ace of Swords can be a hypervigilance a little bit, right? But it's just... You're awake, right? You're standing there, you got your sword in your hand, the wind is blowing in your hair. You're prepared for everything and you're not afraid. You're just awake and ready for whatever is coming. You're showing up as the Empress, the Chariot is here, the Ace of Pentacles is here. You showing up here in the upper circle here as the King of Pentacles. Universe wants to give you something back. You're just going for it. You got the Page of Swords. You got the Knight of Swords. You're really taking action. And the center of it is the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is the first card of the small arcana. Again, an indication that you're starting fresh. There is masculine energy. There's fire energy. There is enthusiasm, right? Passion, following your passion, with all of your mental capacities, all of your intellect, you learn so much, and now you're just going for it. Your wish is fulfilled. Big cycle, the big developmental cycle. It ends here with the Victory March. Let's not forget that. King of Pentacles, Victory March, the Star card is here. You are totally in alignment with your potential and you're making it real. You got 2 aces, Ace of Wands, Ace of Pentacles. That's a big message here, to follow your passion, to not just do something that looks good on paper, you know. Don't opt for the job that pays the most. opt for the job that is closest to your passion. And then you're working on your passion. And if you work on your passion, if you passionately work on something that is meaningful to you, there's the Ace of Pentacles here, right? And the Ace of Wands. If it's connected to your heart space, to your passion, to your fire energy, then you're just manifesting, right? You're just big time. Everything you do is in alignment with what is important for you. So let's just clarify. There's the Wheel of Fortune. There shows up the Devil again. Yeah, it's the Five of Pentacles clarifying the Devil. Okay. And then we got the Ace of Pentacles again connecting the foundation here. Queen of Swords, a lot of Swords energy. So discernment is not the problem. You know exactly what you want. You know exactly who you are, what you're passionate about, and how to go about it to make it real. It's not so much about what looks good on paper, right? But what is enabling you to follow your passion and work on that. You do work on that, Chariot. You're totally in alignment with yourself. That's a good indication here with the Empress. Six of Pentacles. And then let's just talk about that, right? The Devil. And I talked about this in the Taurus reading, kind of showed up in the same position, but this is not necessarily a bad thing if you know how to deal with it. And with the Page of Swords, with the Knight of Swords, even with the Queen of Swords at the bottom of the clarifier deck, you know very well how to deal with it. You know your own shadow, right? So in the last 9 years, what did you learn about yourself? That's a big question. If you're a narcissist, most likely you just forgot everything about you, everything about what is important for you if you are a narcissist. But this is not a narcissist reading. This is an empathic reading. That's for the empaths, for the decent people. Decent people went through some sort of dark night of the soul, right? And you might encounter toxic people. You might encounter, maybe we are all encountering devilish energy in 2026, right? The question is, how do we deal with devilish energy? Deva magic, okay. How do we deal with negative energy? How do we deal with antagonistic, toxic, devilish, narcissistic energy? Transformation is beautiful. You're showing up as the butterfly. So you completed your big, fat developmental cycle. Everything is falling into place. You're in alignment with your passion. You know what you want. The universe is giving you what you wanted. And every light casts a shadow. So with new achievements come new challenges. Every light casts a shadow. So you fulfilled your developmental cycle. You leveled up in consciousness, you leveled up in your life. It's happening, right? The Empress, the King of Pentacles, mastership is here, potential is here at the same time. So as you finish the old cycle, you show up as the Empress, totally ruling yourself, totally being in alignment with yourself. That's ruling yourself, self-mastery basically. That's the Empress. And then you're stepping out into the world as the King of Pentacles, meaning that all that you've learned, you can crystallize it out, you can manifest it out, you can act according to everything that you have learned about yourself. And what do we learn in a Dark Night of the Soul phase of development? We learn, hopefully, how to deal and transcend and integrate our own shadow aspect, right? So your own shadow aspect is everything you're not proud of, everything you might be ashamed of, everything you might be afraid of, everything you might feel guilty of. So guilt, fear, shame. That's usually how this guy is trying to play you. Guilt, fear, shame. Who do you think you are? You did that and this, and you watched this and this kind of porn, and you said this and that, and you, I don't know. People can be ashamed of things that are kind of, I mean, if you killed somebody, by all means, be ashamed of that, right? But if you're just being yourself, right? If you're not harming anybody, I don't think there's any need to be ashamed of it, right? If you're gay, if you're trans, if you're just not fitting the standardized box of society, if you're not harming anybody, if you're just a decent human being doing your thing, no need to be ashamed about it. So you have to own yourself, you have to own your own shadow, even if there is something that you're not proud of. Guess what? We are human beings, right? There's always something that we're not super proud of, right? Maybe we are ashamed of it. Maybe there are aspects of ourselves that we don't like. If we shove these aspects under the rug, so to speak, right? If we try to negate them, then we are offering these shadow aspects to the darkness. This is this energy, right? And this energy is going to play with it. It's going to run with it. It's going to amplify these shadow aspects and throw it back into our faces. This energy wants to, diminish you. This energy wants to, who do you think you are? You did this and that. You should be ashamed of yourself. Who do you think you are? Shame, guilt, fear, anger, frustration, right? And then there's the trap. You're presented with a target, right? Oh, it's their fault, right? You just have to hate these people and fight these people, and then you can be redeemed, right? So that's a form of manipulation. That's a form of narcissistic manipulation, right? Playing someone on guilt, fear, shame, driving them into hatred, right? If you can't love yourself, not loving yourself is basically unbearable for every human being. So the only way to deal with that, if you cannot love yourself, if you cannot transcend and integrate your own shadow aspect, then what people do is usually projecting it outwards in the outer world. And then you fight it on your projections, right? This is what humanity has been doing for the last 2000 years, right? Constant war. Why? Because people can't love themselves. That's the holy grail, self-love. That's the Ace of Cups, actually. So self-love, self-respect, self-love is salvation. So hopefully in the last developmental cycle, you learn to love yourself, to own your own shit, right? Loving yourself means not just to be proud of the good stuff, but to know how duality works and to know that every light casts a shadow and that we're all human beings and, we make mistakes and we can deal with these mistakes if we learn and grow with them, right? If we own it, if we take responsibility for it, and if we just say, okay, that's not so nice, right? Maybe that's pretty dark even, but if you learn something from it, if you, make it good, if you try to fix it in whatever way, if you own it, if you are a grown-up, responsible adult, not a little child, not a little toddler who's turning a temper tantrum and, screaming and, oh no, it's not me, it's this and that. And, that's the childish way to deal with it. But owning up for your own shadow aspect, that's the grown-up way to do. And somebody might test you. Somebody might test us in 2026, spring 2026, right? If you look around into the world is a mess right now. And actually we are tested right now on a global scale as humanity. I would say. So how do we deal with that? The darkness is always trying to recruit you if you are not owning your shadow. So I say this again and again because it's so freaking important. You have to love yourself, you have to forgive yourself, and then you have to take responsibility for whatever you did wrong or whatever mistakes that you've made. Just own it and deal with it. Do not hide it, do not shove it under the rock. Just deal with it. And I see you totally doing this, right? There's the Victory March. There's the Ten of Pentacles. No, not the Ten of Pentacles. It's actually the King of Pentacles. You going forward, there's a lot of discernment. There's self-mastery, as I said. The universe is totally on your side. There's great potential. 2 times the Ace of Pentacles. Following your passion. You know, but it looks super fantastic. And there's Deva magic, right? So the universe is pretty much co-creating with you, is on your side, co-creating with you. Wishes come true, the Star card. But the Star card has a shadow side. So if you level up in consciousness, if you get your degree from university, if you do this and that, right? If you become successful, and it looks very, very successful, there's butterfly spirit here. So you completed this transformation, leveled up in consciousness. But whenever you graduate, so to speak, in consciousness or actually in school or whatever you do, new challenges arrive. So the devil is here just to remind you that, you know, life goes on. Super successful, right? But as you grow, as you level up in consciousness, as you level up in your life, there will always be a shadow. Know that it's always there. And if you're super successful, and you are super successful with the Star card and the Six of Wands, that's literally the Victory March, right? Somebody will try to piss on your parade. Somebody will try to test you. Somebody will try to say, you know, there are always naysayers. There are always people who wish you bad and who are just jealous or who are just mean people, right? Narcissistic people usually don't like it when others are successful. So, you know, you're going to encounter this. It's never going to end. The challenge never ends, so to speak. So you're leveling up in consciousness. You did your big developmental circle. You went through the dark night of the soul. You learned so much about yourself. You integrated your shadow. You learned to love yourself, even and especially with that shadow aspect. Think about the yin-yang symbol. There's always a little dark spot in the light side, just as much as there's a light spot in the dark side, right? It's not black or white. It's not, you're not winning this. You're not winning a developmental cycle if you negate the darkness and then everything is good. No, that's BS, right? Because good and evil are 2 sides of one coin. You can't have a coin with just one side. If you truly understand that, it's not about negation, but transcendence and integration. And that's, you're basically going from a black and white concept to the yin-yang symbol. If you look at that symbol, it's kind of interwoven. Both sides are not just 2 blocks, right? And one block is trying to negate the other block, but they are kind of interwoven to each other. And every aspect has the opposite within itself. Completely different game than negation, transcendence and integration. So if you've learned that, there's a different way of dealing with that, right? So there's one technique, and I talked about this in the Taurus reading, the quote-unquote deep technique. That's Dr. Ramani. That's I think a psychologist, and she has a YouTube channel I'm going to link one of her videos at the end of this one, as I did in the Taurus reading as well, because it's super important, because it's obviously something people, Aries in 2026 needs to hear about, as well as Taurus, right? So do not engage, do not defend yourself, right? If you have this energy is always trying to throw your shadow into your face, and not just your shadow, but, you know, with all sorts of projections and gaslighting and telling you, oh, you're such an awful person and who do you think you are, you know? Do not engage with this energy. Do not fight it. Do not defend yourself. Do not explain yourself. Do not even engage, and do not personalize. These people, these energies, these toxic, narcissistic, antagonistic energies, they're just always there. And you can't reform them. You can't explain anything to them. They don't want to hear your explanation. They want your energy. They want your time. They want to make you doubt yourself. And they want to lower your frequency into guilt, fear, shame. And that only works if there's something unintegrated within yourself. If you love yourself, if you know your own shadow aspect, then they can't play you. They will try to play us, I would say on a global scale, own your shadow aspect. And I see you having done that. Totally. Let's just talk about this fantastic support from the universe. There's the Chariot, supportive energy in the center. You got 2 times the Ace of Pentacles, following your passion. You just concentrate on what you want to create, and you do not getting distracted by all the naysayers. You know, if you have bad comments on whatever you produce, you know, if I, for example, as a YouTuber, get negative comments, right? And people say, oh, who do you think you are? And you're full of shit, right? And you're totally, you know, people are going to say this. And, you know, you just shrug your shoulder. If you have the time to spend your time in the comment section bullying someone, that talks a lot about these people, right? But you don't have to internalize that, right? That's the message here. And whatever it is that you have achieved here, say it again, self-mastery is the foundation here. Big transformation. You really making something real, following your passion, working passionately on what makes sense to you, what is important for you. You totally tapped into that passion of yours. That's a big thing. Many people are looking for that. I think you're going to work passionately on what really is important for you in your life in spring 2026. And this is an ongoing process, and there's so much potential for wealth, abundance, and prosperity here. The universe totally supportive, and it's all, you're showing up as the King of Pentacles, so there is something coming out of this, right? You're making something happen. You're giving it everything you've got, and do not allow anybody to take away that momentum. There's the Star card, there's the Victory March. So I see you not doing that. But the most important thing, whenever the devil shows up, especially in these effed up times that we're living in, I just repeat that story about the shadow and Carl Jung and shadow work, right? Own yourself fully with everything that you are. Not just the lovey-dovey parts, all of it, right? Then nobody can play you, then nobody can trigger you, right? They always try to trigger you. But if you own yourself, if you know yourself, if you're resting within yourself, there's a lot of inner peace here. Nobody can trigger you. Nobody can play you. And the narcissists, those people who had a really good time, quote unquote, good time, I mean, they pretty much sold their soul to the devil, right? In the last 9 years, you didn't do that. Why? Because there's an empathic channel for empaths, right? If you're resonating with this video, you're an empathic being and you maybe went through the dark night of the soul. Maybe you didn't get a new Mercedes. Maybe the narcissist did. So it might look like they won. But, we're in duality. So in duality, it's always the question, what are you getting last? What are you ending up with? You might have gone to the dark night of the soul. Transformation, butterfly spirit is here. If you get the blessing at a curse first, if you get the curse first and the blessing later, you're blessed. But if you get the blessing first and then the curse, then you're actually cursed. So the narcissist gets his karma, her karma, whatever. You are getting your karma as well. And that karma that you're getting looks fantastic. Congratulations, I'm super happy. Just keep in mind that the narcissist is always there. Just like the shadow is going to follow you through the light, through the sun, to the brand new day, through spring 2026 as well. Just focus on what is important for you and never ever forget the importance of loving yourself just as you are, especially with these darker aspects of yourself. If you know they are there, you can cultivate them, you can work with them, you can own them, and you can keep them in check, right? Cultivation. But if you try to negate them, if you say, oh no, that's not me, I don't want anything to do with that, you're shoving it into your subconsciousness, you're suppressing it, you're shoving it under the rug, so to speak. You're offering it to the darkness. And if you do that, the devil, the narcissist, the antagonistic person is going to use that against you. So that's just a reminder. You went through the dark night of the soul, butterfly spirit. You started as a caterpillar, so to speak, right? And then you build your little cocoon, right? Your little chrysalis, and now you're emerging as the butterfly. Congratulations. But life goes on. So it's not solved. It's just another chapter, when you finished elementary school, you're entering high school, right? And there are new challenges in high school. So nobody is going to, tap you on your shoulder and say, yeah, you're the king of elementary school. Well, you might have that moment for a while, but, life goes on and then you're the little person in high school. So congratulations. It's a fantastic reading. Everything is coming together. Focus on what you want to create. Focus on what you're passionate about. And all that talk about the devil and the antagonistic, narcissistic tendencies that are here as well, they're just in between the star card and the victory march. So you're going to have your victory march. You're going to have what you wanted, but you're graduating. And then there are new challenges and new shadow aspects. So it's a spiral, right? It never ends. And you're going on the upward spiral, and that's a good thing. And you fulfilled one big fat developmental cycle, and you're opening in 2026 spring a new developmental cycle. And this developmental cycle is all about you fulfilling your potential, very passionate working on what makes sense to you, coming from a very transformed, self-integrated self-mastery perspective, right? That's all I got. I hope it makes sense to you. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, let me know what you think about it. Share, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about it. And there's even the 2026 reading. I'm going to link this somewhere around here. Check that out as well, and hopefully see you next time. Now, Budaya, my friend. Ciao.